And we are live. It's Dr. J in the house with Evan Brand. Today, we're going to be talking all about inflammation, natural compounds to reduce inflammation. We'll be talking about some of the biochemical pathways, what's happening under the hood, getting to the root cause, and looking at some of the side effects of maybe conventional medications and comparing it to some of the natural options that we have at our fingertips. Evan, how we doing, man?
Hey man, I can't complain. So I took some herbals this morning and it definitely helps. I mean, I was lifting pretty
Mm-hmm.
heavy this weekend, and it's not that you have to wait for pain, but if you feel inflammation, if you feel irritation, you feel stiff, you might as well go ahead and take some of these. So we're going to break down some of the options, some of the different enzymes that we can use. And this is stuff that's readily available on Full Script. So we use Full Script to provide things that we don't manufacture. We have our whole line. Dr. J has a line. I have a line. We have our own professional formulas, and sometimes we'll use other companies as well. So there's 10 or 20
Mm-hmm.
different professional companies that we'll rotate through. And I took a formula this morning that we'll break down today, which contains things like turmeric, ginger, boswellia, quercetin, rosemary. There's a handful that have a lot of good papers. And so we dug into some of the literature today, and we'll share that with you all. That way you understand what do you do. That way you're not going and getting a cortisone shot. Maybe you can riff on that because I know you're pretty well versed in this stuff. What's the issue with the cortisone shots? Because you hear that anybody above 40 or 50 who's had a knee issue, that's the first thing doctors run to is cortisone shot. Why do you think that's just long term not going to be a good?
Great question out of the gate. So, first thing, anyone that knows me, I play a lot of pickleball for the last maybe 7 to 8 months. I've been playing maybe 3 times a week, 2 hours at a whack. And when you're playing hard, man, you can get inflamed afterwards, right? And I see a lot of people that have, tennis elbow, that medial epicondylitis, right? That's this muscle right here by the ulna, and it can really pinch out that nerve and create a lot of inflammation and radiculopathy pain. And people will go and run to a cortisone injection. I just said, well, you're not fixing the underlying cause. And so, because you're not fixing the tissue quality, you're not improving pliability, you're not doing either prehab or doing a good post-hab, soft tissue protocol afterwards to help that tissue become less inflamed. That now you're forever dependent upon that if that injection, if the root cause is not addressed. And anyone that knows cortisone injections, after 2 or 3, they're done because of the side effects of it breaking down tendons, ligaments, and cartilage. And so you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And so if you had an acute injury and the root cause is isolated, it's not going to happen. If you're in a lot of pain, that may make sense acutely. But I always tell people you better make sure you figure out what the underlying cause is and work on doing things now to prevent it from happening. Because if not, once you go back to a second or third, you're screwed because they'll end up pulling it back. And then now what? Now is it gabapentin? Now is it other medications that are going to be more dangerous? Are you going to be on ibuprofen long term, which is going to be a COX-2 inhibitor, which impacts the gut, impacts the liver, right? Over 20,000 people a year taking ibuprofen correctly die every year. That's a conservative estimate. And so
And what do you think that is? What's the mechanism there? Is it just
it's
internal
the
bleeding or?
It's the COX-2 enzyme. That enzyme is very important for our stomach, vascular health, liver health, regeneration. And so when you're overly suppressing that enzyme, those COX pathways go to inflammation, but they're also very important. That enzyme, that cyclooxygenase, that's the COX enzyme we're talking about, that is also very important for inflammation, but it's also very important for regeneration of certain tissues that ibuprofen damages: gut, liver, heart. And so it's fine. These medications are fine acutely, but long term, they can create depletion. And then, like acetaminophen, Tylenol, this has been around for a very long time. Tylenol, up in the 70s and the 60s, they were using IV NAC, N-acetylcysteine, to take people out of Tylenol liver failure because Tylenol has a major liver stress component, but you will liver failure if you take too much. And Tylenol, acetaminophen, basically, when you take it, it depletes all of your glutathione like right away. So I tell people, always go to NSAID first, like an ibuprofen first. And if you need to go to Tylenol, make sure you take NAC and or glutathione with it. Because once you deplete your oxidative stress, now your oxidative pathways are no longer there. And then your liver is basically flying naked, so to speak. So it can be damaged by all kinds of different things because now it doesn't have the ability to buffer all of these nasty oxidative compounds.
Yeah, so if you're listening, if you are playing pickleball, or even if you're not, what maybe you just literally, I don't know, did something silly and hurt your shoulder, hurt your arm. I'm not saying never take a painkiller, but truthfully, I don't even have it in my house. I might have like a dye-free low dose aspirin or something in the back cabinet somewhere just in case. honestly, I don't even know if I have it or not. So overall, I've had such great success. I don't even know if we're going to be able to use the PEPTIDE word soon.
Oh yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if I told you about that, but that's been very helpful for me to take the BPC. And I had a
yep.
video deleted from my Instagram page. Even though I posted it last year, the video was deleted and I got banned for 1 year for doing live videos on my Instagram page. And then I was unable to,
Really?
yeah, for 1 year. And I was unable to message people for like a week. And I literally said nothing in the video, but here's what this does and here's how it can help you. So we'll just call it you know, the oral inflammatory capsules that rhymes with reptides. Okay,
Yep.
that's what I've taken, and it's been very helpful. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, I've had such great success with those that I haven't needed the aspirins, the ibuprofens,
Yes.
the what do you got? Aleve, which I've heard Aleve is probably the worst. So yeah, it's just the glutathione depletion and all that. It's so unattractive to me that I just don't even mess with that stuff. And I want you to know that there's also topical things you can do. So Dr. J and I, we're going to riff on some of the internal things you can do, but then also the topical. So the topicals can be great.
Hmm. Oh, I lost you here for a minute. I'm
So
going to riff until you come
let's
back.
say,
So a couple of different, PEPTIDES, right? KPV is one, BPC 157, TB 500. These are great options that are much better to use acutely than some of the steroids. And so again, I'm not anti-steroid. Just ask yourself the question: are you getting to the root underlying cause? If you have to, because you're absolutely desperate, just make sure you're working with a good chiro, a good PT to work on the soft tissue quality. Like I did pickleball for an hour and a half and I get a little bit of lower back strain and I'm in this half squat position paddling. And so I got a nice little red light belt, red and infrared light. It may blind you here, right? We're getting those waves right to the camera. Red light and infrared, very anti-inflammatory. And so I'll put it right on my tissue. Also, I have my
do you want that on your skin, or is it going to
you
go through the
could.
shirt?
It will go a little bit. Infrared can, but yeah, for some of the red light, you can put up against your skin. And then I'll do my Theragun. I love the Theragun because it's deep. And if you got a I'm here. I'm shortening, lengthening, working my pronator, shortening, lengthening, coming through here, doing this kind of thing. So, someone that has an elbow injury, for instance, right? We're working on pliability. Lower back, we're working on pliability. Maybe we're doing some heat, some infrared red light pre and post to kind of get the tissue nice and pliable and soft. But this is like root cause stuff, right? You get the tissue more pliable, you get it stronger, you get it healthier, and then your need for pain relieving medications or steroids goes way, way down.
Yeah, yeah. The sauna for me is helpful too because I've got the infrared, I've got the near, the far. It's like
Infrared.
a full spectrum. That's been helpful
Infrared,
too.
great.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
hot tub's great because you're just loosening all the tissues up. I'm a huge fan of heat. Heat is great. Now, where heat maybe not is the best, like for an acute injury where you're really bang something and it's really swollen, maybe the heat kind of prolongs that. But I mean, if you just do cold after just general stuff, and you walk around, you're just so stiff. It's like, oh, where cold makes sense is like a cold plunge where it's very acute, it's very systemic. And then maybe you're out, you're back in a hot tub, you're back getting warm again. That's where cold, I think, can shine. But cold chronically, unless it's a very acute injury, I just feel more stiff, less limber, less pliable afterwards.
I agree. And this is something that can apply to people that have mold and Lyme
Yep.
also. I've talked about my history with dealing with some of these issues, and I'll tell you, it's not fun, but you can certainly improve yourself by just knocking some of these inflammatory cytokines down. I'm going to pull up this sheet. Let's see if we can share some of this because we've got some good data backing this stuff up. This is not just
Mhm.
random things here. So let me see if I can share this window because it actually breaks down a lot of these different pathways. So curcumin, turmeric, that's going to be the most famous one. If you look here, it's talking about TNF alpha, interleukin 1,
Yep.
NF kappa beta. It also shows boswellia, which we love, also known as Indian frankincense. This is a great one here. Possess
Wonderful.
anti-inflammatory properties, and this has some in vivo, so being meaning in the body, some in vivo models here, and talking about significant improvement in 120 days to reduce HSCRP, improves pain and stiffness compared to placebo patients with knee osteoarthritis. So if you're one of those And I've got some family that's doing that. You're one of those family members like, oh, my knee. Well, if you're not taking this, you're literally leaving benefits on the table. And then ginger right here. I mean, I love ginger. You and I've talked about ginger for biofilm. There's so many good
Yep.
benefits here, but man, I mean, look at this here. It's saying here that it even restored levels of dismutase, catalase, and glutathione. How cool is that?
Yeah, ginger's great. Anti-biofilm. It also helps with motility, digestive motility, help with gut inflammation. When you look at a lot of these things, right? Whether it's ibuprofen, right, that's working more on the COX-2 pathways or nuclear factor kappa beta signaling or different interleukins or cytokines. That's typically what's happening with a lot of these compounds. Now, you're either robbing Peter to pay Paul. So with more of the natural compounds, don't get me wrong, ibuprofen works very well, right? That's actually helping to reduce inflammation. Tylenol is more of a central nervous system kind of suppressant, not quite reducing inflammation the same way as an NSAID is, right? So NSAID's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, where like cortisone or hydrocortisone or prednisone, these are going to be your steroids. They're reducing inflammation at a much higher level, even maybe more systemic if we're going prednisone, where cortisone injections are more localized. But when you start to do things that are more systemic, like let's say someone had an ulcerative colitis IBD flare, right? Well, those things are going to jack up your blood sugar. You'll see your blood sugar that of a diabetic or twice that. You're starting to break down tissue. It can even impact bone as well. And you can start to become osteoporotic when you use these things long term. So you got to be very, very careful, because you're going to increase blood sugar, which is going to increase oxidative stress, which is going to increase insulin. It's going to break down all your tissue, your healthy tissue, which makes you more prone to more injuries down the road. So we're trying to modulate these interleukins, cytokines, nuclear factor kappa beta. Three best ways to do it out of the gate. Magnesium is actually wonderful. Okay. So Epsom salt bath, right? It's going to open the calcium. It's a calcium antagonist. So it's magnesium blocks the influx of calcium into the cell via the NMDA receptor and calcium channel. This prevents the trigger from many pro-inflammatory pathways to happen, right? This causes a release of substance P, which is basically what gets in the cell and makes you feel pain. It activates the mast cells. So things like Epsom salt bath. It's wonderful. That also is going to modulate nuclear factor kappa beta. It's going to also reduce the TNF alpha and interleukin 6. It's going to reduce your highly sensitive C-reactive protein, HSCRP, which is a marker of systemic inflammation. It's also going to reduce oxidized stress, like you mentioned earlier, right? It's going to decrease that superoxide dismutase, right? Which is very important. So superoxide dismutase is, I think, we want to increase it. That's going to actually be an antioxidant along with the glutathione. So oxidized stress goes down, superoxide dismutase comes up. And then, of course, it's going to help with immune regulation, right? Prevents the overactivation of phagocytes, right? PHAG. And that's going to be something that comes in there and it gobbles up inflammation and damaged tissue. And we don't want to do it too much, because then it can create too much inflammation. But go ahead.
Yeah, so we hit. I just want to briefly mention other root causes that people may be struggling with, because can you take ginger and boswellia and turmeric, some of the things that we love and use personally and clinically, can you take those and still never get to the root cause? Absolutely. We still want you to look into your gut. We still want you to look for mold, Lyme, Bartonella, Babesia. There's a whole bunch of
Mhm.
co-infections that can create issues. Years ago, it would hurt to just make a fist. Even for me, just to go like this, I would have pain, just arthritic like pain. I had 3 tick bites in one summer. And if you have more than one tick bite, you're pretty much guaranteed to have Borrelia, just based on the data from tickreport.com. About half of the ticks in this country have and carry Lyme, which is Borrelia burgdorferi. Now, you're hearing a
Yep.
lot more about the.
So you're
I
breaking
don't
up.
know if alpha
Go
gal,
ahead.
the whole. I don't know if the whole red meat allergy thing is related to gut inflammation, but I certainly want to fix it all. So,
You're talking the alpha gal?
uh-huh.
Yeah. I just think it comes down to is gut permeability issues, and just that makes things that you're, eating more frequently, maybe more sensitive to from an allergy standpoint.
Yeah.
So I think it all comes down to fixing the gut when it comes to a lot of the autoimmune inflammation. And that's where a carnivore diet can be super helpful, because some of these allergens, you can be sensitive to a lot of the anti-nutrients in plants, whether it's lectins, phytates, oxalates, salicylates. These can be very allergenic, if you will. But looking at systemic inflammation, if it's in our body from our exercise, we want to have a good pre or post workout. The older you get, your tissue loses pliability, so you don't have the ability to adapt. Like, I watched my kids the other day, and like one was just like we were just roughhousing, and he went down hard, and he just popped back up. I'm like, damn, if that was me, I don't know if I'd be able to snap back. And their tissue is just more elastic, right? It's
Yeah.
more elastic. And so that's why we want to eat and consume good collagen, keep the inflammation down, right? We have more cross bridging of our proteins with glucose that gets oxidized, right? And so the more insulin and the higher your blood sugar is, that can cross link your proteins, and it just makes them more sticky and more rigid. And so we want nice, pliable tissue, and getting a good massage gun and having a good routine before you do really hard workouts, like my Theragun here. Very, very helpful for making the tissue just softer. And then we want to have our good anti-inflammatory nutrients. So we talked about some of the side effects with ibuprofen. We talked about some of the steroids. Of course, there's things like Remicade, which are going to be more for like IBD issues, which are going to be modulating TNF alpha. But TNF alpha is also really important for like energy pathways and mitochondria and mood stuff. And so when you take these things, you're going to modulate TNF alpha, but now you're going to have energy issues and maybe some mood issues and mitochondria problems. So you can see you start to rob Peter to pay Paul. And plus, Remicade's very expensive. IV of that, they're charging insurance companies almost $35,000 per IV, which is just freaking insane. Isn't that nuts? It's just crazy. And so we're going to be using
But
turmeric.
I want people to know where this stuff's coming.
Yeah, let's see it.
Will you share this one?
Yep.
Okay. So this is what we're going to be looking for on the functional medicine side, where we're going to be doing labs. So we're going to look for these well-known, clinically proven
Yep.
gastrointestinal pathogens that will trigger autoimmune issues, including RA and ankylosing spondylitis. So Klebsiella proteus, Citrobacter, Yersinia, this stuff is linked to your gut. So you absolutely have to look here. Don't just take your turmeric and give up. You got to look into the gut bacteria, and we can get this done worldwide. So if you have issues, let us help you test your gut.
Exactly. And again, we always want to get to the root. But the thing I like about curcumin or boswellia or magnesium, people aren't dying from doing an Epsom salt foot bath. They're not dying from more magnesium. They're not dying from more curcumin. Make it liposomal for better absorption. They're not dying from more frankincense or boswellia. And so I at least like that because the side effect profile is very low. The risk reward is much more in your favor. And so better option. But always say, what's the underlying cause? If there's autoimmune or IBD or something in the gut, we have to look at that and figure out how to get the gut healthier. Look at the microbes, look at the inflammation. Maybe your adrenals are depleted. Maybe your DHEA and all your anabolic hormones and your cortisol, stress hormones are low, and you need more support on the adrenal side because your adrenals are very much a very powerful anti-inflammatory support for the body. Look at that. And then also things like good healthy fats can be a big deal. If you're doing lots of processed seed oils, lots of processed grains, and you're not getting healthy saturated fats, healthy omega-3s that are good quality, that can make a big difference for reducing inflammation as well.
Man, will you pull this up one more time? I want to share one more
Yep.
thing here. And just for the folks that are listening and are like, where is this inflammation coming from? Well, check this out. Reactive arthritis can be brought on by a urinary infection with Proteus. So literally, you can literally get a urinary infection that turns into arthritis. So just FYI, if you're like, hey, I don't have gut symptoms, it could literally be from that. And females are much more likely to deal with this. And then you've got more bacterial issues. You've got chlamydia, salmonella, shigella, campylobacter, yersinia, clostridium, which we see all the time. You've got parasites, including giardia, which I had many years ago, crypto. This probably explains some of my arthritis. I had both of these parasites years ago. Aggressive cases could evolve into ankylosing spondylitis. So that's the important thing here, is that some of these things may not be in the acute phase of giardia. It may not be an autoimmune condition, but left alone and untreated could definitely spin out of control. Look at this here. Klebsiella and Proteus, abnormal antibody responses can then turn into Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, RA. So you don't want to ignore these things. That's our whole philosophy here, is test, don't guess with your health. And the reason why we focus
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to guess and throw a bunch of stuff at you.
Yeah, no, exactly. That makes sense. So we talked about our conventional stuff, right? Our NSAIDs, which are going to be your ibuprofens, right? Your aspirins, which are going to be a little bit similar. They all work on that COX-1, COX-2 pathway. They have a little bit more of an anti-platelet effect. So with aspirin, you're going to see the platelet reduction, so it thins the blood out, where ibuprofen doesn't quite have that same platelet reduction as long. And again, aspirin, it comes more natural. That's a salicylate. It's going to come from typically a white willow bark. With aspirin with kids, you got to be careful because of Rye syndrome, where it can create some potential brain swelling and cause some consequences there if there's a viral infection going on. So be very careful with aspirin in kids. As an adult, it's okay, but much better off for a kid. Maximize all the natural things, whether it's the Epsom salt bath or even a magnesium gel on the skin, or our curcumin or boswellia, or we even talked about it briefly. These systemic enzymes can be wonderful, right? Systemic enzymes have a major impact on reducing inflammation. They can decrease scar tissue. So it's nice because it can help with pliability, right? But some of these enzymes like serrapeptidase or nattokinase, they can modulate TNF alpha as well. They can modulate different interleukins. They can help with alpha 2 microglobulins, right? And then they can break down some of the inflammation too, which they can improve pliability to your tissues as well and get the repair process going, because your body will use scar tissue to kind of like put the tissue back, but it makes the tissue stiffer and harder. So it does kind of help get the tissue more pliable and better in the future. So I like that.
Yeah, don't get old. That's the goal here. Don't age your tissue and don't scar it up. You got to keep this stuff pliable. I love you talking about pliability. Most people don't bring this stuff up. They just talk about what's the injection I can get to fix it. But swimming has been a game changer for me too. I just noticed so much improvement in my back, the way I sleep, the way I move, the way I feel. I mean, I tell you, if I could pick one exercise for the rest of my life, it'd probably be swimming.
Swimming is great because you basically have only eccentric contractions. So when you move, everything is about muscles getting longer, right? So when you move this way, right, you're kind of like you're like shortening your muscles. But when you go back this way, the resistance changes every direction that you move in the pool. So it's a lot more eccentric, a lot less impact on the body, which is great. So just to kind of one last thing is inflammation. It's not good or bad. It's basically there to tell your body, hey, let's work on bringing blood flow to an area. Let's work on healing this area. It's when it's chronic and it doesn't really go away, and you're in this pattern of you're not really laying down tissue to get the healing happening, and then it's just prolonged and there's more pain, and then pliability gets worse, range of motion gets worse, things get stiffer, and then you're just on this slow path to degeneration. That's where it's a problem. And that's where we want to have natural compounds come in to get the inflammation better. You want to have the preventative pliability routines to get the pliability up, get the blood flow dialed in, and then really be on top of the healing. So you're not having to go to these prednisones or cortisone injections long term that can really degrade your tissue, degrade your health and your immune system, right? Prednisone, high blood sugar also equals weakened immune system as well.
I love this stuff, man. This is just so fun and so empowering. Like once you have these tools, it makes you less fearful. It makes you more confident and going out and exercising. I mean, there's so many women that have told me, "Hey, I'm afraid to go for a run, or I'm afraid to go to a lift class or to this class because I'm worried about how stiff I am or how much pain I'm in
Yeah.
after or the recovery period." When you
Yeah.
have these tools, you just it's just great. I love
Yeah.
this stuff, but ultimately you got to fix your gut. You got to look at your gut.
Yeah.
If you have a chronic issue, if you're listening or watching and you're trying to make a fist and you have pain there's something not right. You got to look deeper. Trust me, I was
Yeah.
there. I got through it. And maybe one day I'll be an old man and complain about this again, but for now, I'm much better than I used to be.
Yeah. And for your day in, day out, use your percussor, right? Theragun Pro. I have did a video on this. I'll put a link down below. Red light, either a red light or infrared light laser, whether it's a heating pad or a laser or a actual panel. Those are great, much better options. Okay. And also your infrared sauna is wonderful. And then have your natural supplements. So anywhere between a gram or two of a good quality liposomal curcumin, fish oil, boswellia 2 to 3 times a day is a pretty good rule of thumb with high quality supplements. We can always do systemic enzymes like a nattokinase or serrapeptidase or lumbrokinase away from food twice a day can be wonderful. And then again, if you have to do like an NSAID, take it with food, take some NAC or glutathione with it, right? Take some things that kind of support your gut, maybe take some aloe juice or some ginger with it because that can rip up your gut. And so you got to just be smart about it. We're not anti-medication. We're just pro root cause and pro more gentle things before you get to the harder medications. That's all.
Yeah, well said, well said. If you want to dig deeper, look in the show notes or go directly to Dr. J's website, which is justinhealth.com. You can reach out worldwide. Consultations are available so we can look at your gut, look at nutrient deficiencies. We didn't even cover that. We could riff on that for a whole hour. We could look at different infections, parasites, worms, bacteria, fungus, mold, you name it. Dr. J's website, justinhealth.com. evanbrand.com.
Yes.
Me, Evan Brand, at evanbrand.com, EVAN brand, BRAND, evanbrand.com. Reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you. We'd love to show you under the hood of your body things that unfortunately your conventional doctor is never going to do. And number two, things that are never going to show up on blood work. Sure, you can see an HSCRP on blood, but you're not going to see these type of infection load that we're talking about with your standard testing. So you have to go above and beyond. And we're doing
Correct.
this for a fraction. We're doing this for like 1/100th of the price of your celebrity doctors who appear on TV to talk about their expensive programs. 100K plus a year. You're never going to spend that. I don't even think in your lifetime you could spend 100K with us to investigate. It's just wild what we're seeing
And
out there.
and some of those same doctors are actually appearing in the Epstein files as well. How about that? That's a little side note there.
So there you go. So there you go.
And then
We are not in the Epstein files, by the way.
no, we are not. We are not. My life is way too boring for that. I got my pickleball and my water skiing and my kids and my family and my wife. It's keep it simple, keep it real,
Yep.
Americana.
Amen.
But one last thing: weakened hormones, so weakened adrenals, menopause, low T. These can also decrease your body's ability to like repair tissue. So those should be looked at. Taking in connective tissue and collagen to kind of get building blocks for your tissue is also very helpful because we don't get like soups and broths and put the knuckles in the skins. And then also for kids too, I find magnesium gels great for topical, and a homeopathic called camellia, which is
Yeah.
or arnica for kids, really young ones, can be great for reducing pain, teething pain, especially when they're younger, like little headaches, bruises. Those are great. We use our laser a lot with kids and things like that. So just try to find a good couple of options. You don't have to go to the drugs every time. And of course, if you go to a medication, go to the liquid ibuprofen over a Tylenol. Dose it up according to your kiddo's weight. Use the liquid one so you can dial it in perfectly. Stay away from the Tylenol based on the one that's gotten political recently, but Tylenol has been known for the longest time to deplete glutathione, and that can really make it very stressful on a young child's body when there's very depleted glutathione levels happening.
And if you're like, well, what the heck is my glutathione level? Reach out. We can test it. We look at it all the time.
Again, I guess
NAC,
yes,
vitamin C, B vitamins. We can measure all this stuff.
pyroglutamate, we can run a red blood cell, glutathione. All these are good options to look at. Just
Awesome.
assume it's low. Just assume it's low.
Yeah.
All right. Right.
Exactly.
NAC is the easiest one that you can do out of the gate. And NAC crosses the blood-brain barrier and helps with any inflammation from glyphosate or mold toxins getting into your brain too, metals too. So great options there. All right, guys. Wonderful chatting. Again, reach out, evanbrand.com for Evan. He's available worldwide. He sees patients just like I do as well. We have our own product lines. We'll put links down below for some of the stuff we mentioned. And again, Dr. J, justinhealth.com, links below. And you guys just take this information, apply one thing, and have an awesome day. Take care, y'all.
All right. Take care.
Bye, Evan.
Bye-bye.
Peace.